you for joining us on another edition of Woodall's Campground Magazine's Outdoor Hospitality Update. And I'm Ben Quiggle, co-host along with Mike Gast, who's still in Hawaii, but for some reason feels the need to have a blurred background. You should be on the ocean, beach or something.
Well, you got me up so early this morning that there was no point in setting up the green screen and trying to fake everybody out. So I'm just going to sit here and look out my window to watch the sun come up over the volcano.
Yeah, that's really rough. So I'm here with Toby O'Rourke, CEO and president of Kampgrounds of America Incorporated. And of course, as you can tell behind us, we're at KOA's Convention and Expo, which has just been great so far. How many people are, how many franchisees came to the show this year?
We had 750 people register, so definitely a lot of people here. Plus, we've got 35 to 40 campgrounds online at home, plus just some staff and other people from other campgrounds of people that are here are joining in from home. So we keep adding to the numbers of people that are streaming in that couldn't be here. So we're definitely reaching a lot of people this week.
Yeah, and it's just been amazing, the energy. I think, I've been to the National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds. We've been to the Glamping show, and just the energy in the industry right now. And you kind of spoke to that yesterday, just kind of the momentum that I guess Kampgrounds of America is carrying into 2022.
That's right. I think these shows are so much anticipation to just get out and reconnect with people. And so I think that's why you're seeing such high attendance at all these shows and so much excitement, but also the industry is just booming. And our numbers, what we shared is 96% of our KOAs are up over last year. 93% are up over 2019, which was our best year in history. So everyone's had really, really strong years. They're coming in with all that momentum behind them. But we're acknowledging that it's been a tough couple of years. They've faced a lot of, business restrictions, decreased staffing, border closure, et cetera. So everyone's tired, and they're definitely here to just recharge and just reinvigorate their business. So there's a lot factoring into why these shows have been so popular.
Yeah. And I like the line you said yesterday in your speech. You were at a meeting or something, and a campground owner said they're doing really well, but they're not having fun doing that.
Yeah, that was one of our franchise advisory committee members in July said, business is the best it's ever been, but we're not having any fun. And I have heard lines like that repeatedly over the past couple of days about how hard this past year has been, and everyone worn out. I think burnout's a real reality for campground owners in this environment we're in. So it's been amazing. So many people have said we really needed this convention. We really needed this burst of energy, us to just get excited again about business, and the numbers are strong, and they're just needing to catch a breath. It's been a tough couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, what are some of the challenges you guys have faced over the last year or so, and what are some of the challenges you're going to be facing, looking into the future?
Well, I just hit a couple of them. I think the biggest challenge facing the industry right now is staffing shortages. So everyone's seen the jobs reports. 4.4 million people left jobs in September, 4.3 million people left jobs in August. Before that, 15 million from April to June. The sectors that were the most impacted by that migration was food service and accommodations. So that's right smack dab in our industry. And so you hear these terms like the great retirement or the great, resignation, which I guess that's what Mike did to us at KOA. But another term that's emerged is called the great reassessment. And that's people just reassessing how and where they want to work. They want to have more flexibility in their jobs, or they want to work closer to family. So I think that's a big challenge for the industry, because the hospitality sector in particular is really reassessing the type of work they do. And the latest jobs report said that 1/3 of hospitality workers don't plan on returning. So we can look at that as a challenge, but I actually look at it as a big opportunity for outdoor hospitality. So we can appeal to these people that have a hospitality background and experience and a service mentality, knowing that they don't want to go back to traditional hotel or food service jobs. And we can appeal to them with what we do, which is outdoors, right? The outdoor hospitality. So I think it's a challenge for the industry, but a really big opportunity also to really reframe how we attract workforce And so we're tackling that head on at KOA and trying to find creative ways to appeal to these workers that are reassessing what they want to do to try to really help as we head into next year.
Yeah.
Toby, is the face of a camp, the face of camping changes. Is the face of campground ownership changing? Are we seeing a different type of owner now?
Well, I'd love to say overwhelmingly yes, but I think that's definitely coming slower than the camper. You know, if I look at our system, we still have a long ways to go in attracting more diversity in KOA owners. And that's a big passion project of mine. As we've been working on our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts over the past, 3 or 4 years, we're definitely noticing the shift in the camper demographic. And a thing I really like to see is more shift in more people of color, underrepresented communities being campground owners. I've met some really great people this week that are new owners that are definitely from different demographics than what we typically have sourced before. So I think that the word's getting out that camping is a great business to be in. We're definitely trying to appeal to people in different channels as they're considering, a new career, a new shift, and we're hoping to bring more diversity in. But is it changing yet? I think slowly. I think we have a long way to go as an industry.
Is there still room for a mom and pop operator?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I was at RVing last week too. I think, there was so many corporate buyers and people coming from different industries like storage, coming in to try to buy parks. I think that the industry is really ripe for consolidation, but I think we're still a little ways off from that. There's close to 13,000 private campgrounds. There's still a lot of mom and pop operators, family operations, multi-generation operations, especially our demographic at KOA. I think there's some big buyers that are starting to buy parks, but we're a long ways, I think, from seeing that there's no place in this market, particularly at KOA. There's definitely a place at KOA for the family operator.
I was talking to Scott Foos. I don't know if you know who Scott is, from Horizon Management Company at the Glamping show, and he manages a number of parks. I thought maybe they managed a KOA, but I'm not for sure. But he had mentioned about the consolidation, and he had mentioned about the feel of the industry, about how we need to keep the feel of the camping experience, even with all this consolidation. I guess, how does KOA work to keep, that camping feel for the public, I guess?
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, I think something we've always talked about at KOA is that camping is just such a timeless activity. And there's obviously going to be changes in camping, but the fundamental reason about why people camp won't change. They want to connect with each other. They want to connect with the outdoors. We've got lots of things in place to help, I think, instill that experience at the campground level. Yeah, we absolutely, we run parks corporately. We have a lot of corporate buyers, but I still feel even those parks, when you show up on that campground, you're there for the camping experience. And so everything from, we've got new site designs for our main building this year. We're introducing, a lot of things around EV chargers. There's a lot of new things coming, yet it doesn't really change the core reason of why you're there, which is to connect to the outdoors. And I think KOA understands that and continues to foster that.
So what can you do for the camper that wants to get in and is having trouble? I mean, how do you take care of all of these people that are coming in and having a hard time getting a reservation?
Yeah, I think, capacity is a real concern in the industry, across the industry. I was at the RVIA board meeting last week. That's definitely something the manufacturers are talking about. They're pumping out close to 600,000 RVs this year and next, and where do people go? So capacity is a discussion point. What's exciting at KOA, we shared some numbers yesterday, is that we have 3,900 new sites in design right now to be added to this system. We have 20 new campgrounds being built, which is the highest number we've ever had being built. Plus, over 325 existing KOAs have invested in their park and are adding more sites. So we're continuing to expand in our campground system. But the other way to your question, Mike, is through a lot of changes in our digital platforms. So we've got some great new functionality that allows people to see available dates. If a site's not open on the date they want to come, they can come and look at the calendar. They can also come in and look regionally. They can say, I want to go to this area of the country, and they can see all the sites available in that region. We're also adding some sort of like a shopping cart functionality for multi-reservation checkout. So there's just a lot of ways we're trying to make it easier for the camper to book online and find the sites.
Yeah. I mean, I used the site search feature this summer to try to find a cabin. I wasn't very successful though, because you guys are booked out, and but it's a great feature. So thank you for putting that on the system. I guess, what are some of the innovations? I know you guys are going to be doing your ideas. I can't think of the name. Yeah, idea exchange later today. What are some of the neat ideas, I guess, that are coming out of that you guys have been really working on as a system?
We have a thing at our convention, for those who aren't familiar, called Idea Exchange. We've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. Mike would probably remember as well.
Oh yeah.
But where we used to just present innovative ideas to get people thinking. This time, later this afternoon, we're all focusing in around our Campground of the Future initiative. So we're going to be sharing some things that our Campground Design Services team has been working on in the space of Campground of the Future that we're ready to implement in the system. So earlier I mentioned new main building designs. So KOA is 60 years old next year. There's still a lot of A-frames out there, which we love them. That's great. It's very iconic. We have a lot of new campgrounds being built, a lot of people wanting to remodel, and we've come up with some really innovative new main building designs that also integrate things like solar and take into account water reclamation. So there's some really neat, more sustainable ways of approaching our buildings. We're pretty excited about that. We're also going to be talking about EV. That's a big project where we have some good partnerships in place to get EV chargers on our campgrounds. Doug Mulvaney and our Campground Design Services team has been working on some great designs to allow people even to have dual pedestals to accommodate, an RV pulling an EV or an EV pulling an RV. And we know that electric RVs are right around the corner. So we're working on that pretty hard. We're pretty excited about that. We're also going to be introducing a composting toilet concept. And that's traditionally at KOA, we've always required, sewer, bathroom, every site needs to be accessible to that. We've been testing this composting toilet idea for more remote locations of your campground that might be more difficult to get a traditional bathroom to. And I think that's going to open up again more sites, and particularly as some people are pursuing some unique accommodations or they want to expand their tenting, there's some very beautiful areas of their campgrounds that might be a little more remote. So now we've got an option for that. We're also going to have our newly promoted Executive Director of Digital Transformation and Strategy, Cole Reinhardt, who's worked at KOA for 11 years. He's going to be talking about some really great ways you can use technology on your campground to better service your customers. So we're pretty excited. There's just a lot of things we're working on, always trying to be innovative and see how we can advance what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Mike and I have spoken quite a bit about EVs on the show, and it's just amazing the growth of that industry. I mean, looking 2-3 years ago, people were talking a little bit about EVs, but the COVID and the new administration just really exploded this concept. And we're starting to see state and national parks really take a look at installing charging stations, grants, and obviously this new infrastructure bill, I think, has 500,000 stations attached to it. So I think, it's coming so rapidly, and campground owners are just really, wondering what to do. And you spoke to that a little bit. I guess, what is KOA, what is KOA encouraging their owners to do right now on that front? And, what's that look like?
Well, we're definitely encouraging them to take it seriously and make a plan. And we've got partnership in place with Jamestown to get EV chargers on our campgrounds. We're actively talking to some others in the space. And so we would love to see EV charging capability at every KOA. Already, every KOA has 50 amp, so they can accommodate charging. So I think that's something we can easily say. You could charge at any KOA. We would love to see more superchargers added to sites or added to parks, so that we can always be that stop. I think our owners are going to embrace it. It's just something we have to evolve to do to meet the demand and the changing landscape that we're finding ourselves in. So it's a really exciting time. And it's fun to now be doing something new in the industry and just getting our campground owners on board.
Yeah, and I really like what there's a lot of KOAs that are doing a lot with solar. Like we just profiled the Belfonte KOA in Pennsylvania. You have some great KOAs. I'm thinking maybe the Flagstaff has those huge solar. Tucson, yep, has a huge solar parasols. I mean, it's just amazing. And then talking about combining this with EV technology, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what parks look like in the future. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of our Campground in the Future initiative, is just trying to concept how things are going to change and what we need to be taking into account. Solar is definitely a big one. Our Camp Green program that we've had in place for many years, we've reframed this year, and we're taking, major areas of focus per year to really get people to dial in. This year's on energy conservation. So there's a whole range of things you can do within energy conservation that I think is really exciting for campgrounds to start thinking about. Either next year or the year after. One I'm super excited about is water reuse, water reclamation. I think that's a big area that campgrounds can make a big difference in. There's a lot of water that's reused, whether we think about gray water reuse or what have you. I think there's a lot of things that campgrounds can be thinking about in terms of water conservation. So not only is the younger camper expecting you to be environmentally conscious and think about that, something I shared yesterday with our franchisees is your younger employees are expecting that too. So as we think about workforce development, attracting new campers, we need to be thinking about what our message is and how not only is it a good thing to do, but it also is important from an attraction and retention of your employees and your customers, that you start leaning into environmental tactics. And so we're pretty excited about some of the ideas we're going to be sharing with our owners this week on how they can get more involved and do more in that space.
Toby, what about Wi-Fi and connectivity? Is that going to be something that's going to have to explode on campgrounds just because of what the pandemic does to working from the road?
Yeah, Wi-Fi is a big deal. I'm very serious about Wi-Fi needs to improve. I see campgrounds just checking a box to say we have Wi-Fi, but we're not. What's the quality of that Wi-Fi? So yesterday I shared how the FCC defines high-speed internet. I think it was 25 megabits per second download, and what reliable Wi-Fi is 13. And we actually did speed tests at our parks to understand how many of our parks fit into those segments. We definitely have some areas of opportunity. We've got some really great providers in the industry right now that we've been working with that are having really good success about getting good quality Wi-Fi. So we're really encouraging people to invest in it as a utility, water, sewer, electric, Wi-Fi. It's not an amenity. And I think a lot of people fall back to, well, Wi-Fi, they shouldn't expect Wi-Fi, but that's not the reality of the private campground industry. We're, like I say, front country camping. We're not back country. We're not remote locations. Most of our campgrounds are near cities and towns. Wi-Fi is expected. So you have to think about it as a utility, make the proper investment. So I think it's a big deal. I do know also in the infrastructure bill that was just signed, there's substantial amount of money in there for broadband expansion in rural areas. I think a lot around for school use, but I think that could also maybe help campgrounds. So we're interested to see how that helps the industry as well. But Wi-Fi is huge.
And I think you mentioned you guys were trying to reach out to Starlink as well, Elon Musk there. So
yeah, we've had a lot of good conversations with Starlink. They're just not quite ready to start to test. They're doing some small tests, but we actually have good connections there, made good progress. If satellite Wi-Fi can really come to fruition, campgrounds are perfect place to take advantage of that. So I'm hoping we see that develop, because I think that campgrounds need it.
Yeah. I guess sorry about my phone there. I should have turned it off. I should know better by now. I guess looking at the RV industry, you mentioned how it's booming. 600,000 units projected for next year, and who knows what 2023 will bring. Yeah, we're 2020. Yeah, 2 years, 2023. Yep. And then so it's just amazing, I guess, on the campground. And you work with the RVIA, you're on the board of the RV Industry Association, and you work with they have like a campground committee, correct?
We have a task force, campground task force, that was formed earlier this year, comprised of members from the RVIA board, because it's a high concern for the manufacturers and dealers, about where people are camping, and it's all about quantity and quality of sites, and also quality, right? It's on the public and the private side. From this task force, we decided that a great thing to do would be bring people from the campground industry together to discuss some of these topics. And I think you guys covered that. That meeting was held in September, the first meeting of that group. And it brought together people from all aspects of camping, along with some people in RVIA. It was a really great meeting to talk about, hey, how can we make progress together about adding more campgrounds, adding more sites, improving quality of sites. So I think there'll be some good things that come out of it. The next meeting is coming up in January. Some of the things we talked about in that meeting have to do with better access and sharing of data, so that as campgrounds are appealing to local jurisdictions for permitting, or they're facing, pushback for new development, they've got data at their fingertips to help with that narrative. We talked about camping having to really claim its space in the travel industry. It's a really ripe time for that. And trying to think of some of the other committees that formed out of that. There's a series of committees that are going to be focused on certain topics that we're going to dig into. And I think there'll be some good progress. It's really nice to see the RV industry wanting to work closely with the campground industry. That definitely hasn't always been there, but that's definitely been a change over the past couple of years. That's really welcome.
Yeah. I guess, coming through this COVID, situation, pandemic, what were just some of the things at the national level, maybe that KOA is focusing on, maybe, because when I talked with the National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, I know they're working with that security agency trying to get campgrounds listed as essential. Is that something that KOA is working on too? Or are there other areas coming out of this pandemic where you realized, wow, we really need to have more of a focus on that on the advocacy front, I guess, for parks?
Yeah, KOA definitely jumped into the advocacy space during COVID, and we've continued that. I'm actively in conversations with CISA, that's run by Homeland Security. That's who determines what's essential, what's not. Got added to the lodging subsector group of CISA, who's assured me that when there's an update to the essential business list, which they're not putting one out, which is really unfortunate right now. I'd love to have it be done now in advance of another situation. But what we've been assured is that, yes, camping will be on the list, because what I learned is that there just was a really lack of understanding about campgrounds. They didn't understand what campgrounds did. So that was a lot of the work we've been doing, is education about campgrounds, right? We are very actively working advocacy in Canada. Canada has definitely been a big challenge, even continuing into this year, particularly Ontario. A lot of restrictions in Canada. Now, our Canadian businesses were shut down again in the spring in Ontario, and some pockets of other restrictions across the country. They've all come back and had really, really strong years, but it's still a very different legislative climate than it is in the United States. So we're actively working both countries, trying to keep on top of where we can help advocate for our members and for the industry to be open and operating fully.
Yeah. Mike's been pretty quiet today. Mike,
well, I've got a big question for Toby. Have we reached a time when having a franchise in the camping business isn't as necessary as before, or has it never been more necessary to be part of a franchise organization?
Well, I think you could look at it both ways. There's a lot of demand. So if you're joining the brand for the marketing, I think that you're going to have high demand either way. Yes. But I think you join a franchise for a lot of reasons. I can't imagine why anyone would want to do a campground business without the support of us, of Yogi, those are the two main franchise players. Our Chief Operating Officer, Darren Usselman, spoke yesterday about our franchise value equation, as we call it. and everything that we package together, we've isolated 100 points of difference of things we do for a campground owner, and that justifies their investment in our business. So it's more than just, you know, the national marketing we're putting out. There's a lot of local marketing support that has a high cost to you, right? As a campground owner, that we do for you or we provide for you. Plus our technology, and we have top-notch technology. We're continually investing in and improving and adding features to. You don't have to pay for that. You know, that's already part of what we do with you. Plus all of our services. Our training is so sophisticated at the moment. We're adding a new manager school. That's a big announcement we made yesterday. We're able to train campground managers now, which is something that we need within our franchise system. Plus, we added a whole new customer service training platform this year that layers in those important topics like DEI and helping educate people about that. So why would you want to try to tackle all that on your own? Let alone just the digital aspects of where we take care of your placement, how you're found on the internet. You know, we do all that for you. So I can't imagine why, with everything you're facing, right? Business restrictions, staffing, this massive influx of campers, why you would want to try to take on all of these other aspects that you need to do to run a business when you can be part of a franchise and you have a partner there to help you. Our goal is to be an essential partner. And when I say essential, that means you can't imagine doing business without us. And I think that everybody that's here this week, you know, 800 people that are participating in our convention would say, yeah, I can't imagine doing business without KOA. And that's our goal. And I would suggest that any campground out there needs a partner. It's a tough time to do business alone.
And I actually had a park owner come up and say that to me. So you guys got a good review from one park owner. Let
me add one more thing. I will say, we talked a little bit earlier about all this new investment and interest in campgrounds and corporate buyers. There's people coming in from different industries like storage. I had some interesting conversations with some people from the storage industry last week at RVing that, you know, I'm having this conversation with. You know, they don't know anything about campgrounds. Some of these new buyers, they've not run campgrounds before. They've not managed a park. It's not the same as the storage business, or it's not the same as whatever they were doing before. That to me is reason number one why you should have a partner. You know, instead of questioning why would I, and I get it, you know, why would I give you guys 8% of my registration? You know, what am I going to get for that? You know, they're asking the right questions, but I guarantee that return on investment is tenfold. And we try to demonstrate that.
I guess, you know, we have seen quite a few developers come in from different industries. You know, is there a concern that there's like a burnout factor? Like, you know, they're coming in, they take over these parks. Obviously, a lot of them don't have experience in the industry. You know, are we going to get like 2, 3, 5 years down the road and all of a sudden some of these people are looking to exit the market or sell? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think as you see how money flows between different industries, that's probably a valid assumption that will be made. Is we'll see a lot of people getting in. Camping's really hot. Outdoor hospitality's hot. There'll be something else they want to invest their money in, and then maybe they'll shift gears at some point. We're not projecting the business to slow down anytime soon. So I think they're going to still be seeing high returns and good, you know, return on their investment. So I think that we'll continue to see a lot of people still coming in, still staying in. But yeah, I think there'll be some attrition, and we'll be here to pick up the pieces and keep the industry moving forward for sure. There's a lot of people building campgrounds, but the reality is there's just a ton of interest here. So I think that the industry is going to thrive for quite a while.
Yeah. You had mentioned a little bit about zoning, about how you guys are coming, you know, the industry is coming together to help communities understand what campgrounds are. There's a lot of misconceptions about campgrounds, and, you know, it depends on the community. You know, some developments go through really easily. Some are just tooth and nail, and, you know, they can never get their development through. I guess, you know, how do you guys work with developers in getting them to the building stage, or, you know, current park owners to get them the ability to expand? I guess, what's that been like for KOA?
Yeah, probably. I have a couple crazy examples. We have a franchisee that, his park's open and operating right now, doing very, very well, but it took 5 years. We actually renewed his 5-year franchise agreement before he even opened this park, because it took that long for him to get everything that he needed. Probably the biggest experience we have in that is on our corporately owned parks. Even we have an expansion that we're trying to do at a park that's been held up now for 2 or 3 years. We just reopened the Sugarloaf Key KOA that was destroyed 4 years ago in a hurricane. And the only reason it took us 4 years is because we were caught up in that process of approvals. So we've got a really good team on our development side that works. You have to immerse yourself in that local market, and you have to make the right connections. It's a lot of knocking on doors, a lot of going to meetings, a lot of bringing the data. It's very tough. There's just no way around it. It's very challenging. It's very much a grassroots level. So it's not easy for me in Billings to just ship something out to someone and make them understand. It takes real grassroots work. And I see some of our franchisees, they have to immerse themselves in the process in their local communities to get it done.
Is there like a top-down approach maybe where like RVIA, RVic, KOA, come together and try to do, is there any national effort that could be done to potentially make communities more aware of what the industry is like and maybe ease some of the burden?
Well, I think some things that have come out, again, going back to COVID and our advocacy efforts, is we made really good contact with the National Association of Counties and also the Governors Association. So that's getting into the meat of who's making some of these decisions. So I think we have a platform with NACO, that's National Association of Counties, to help educate about campgrounds. So I think that's an area worth exploring for sure. I think some of those things coming out of that task force I talked about, we'll be exploring areas like that. Where can we educate more about camping and RVing, get them the right data, FAQs, questions. So as these counties and local municipalities are making decisions, hopefully we've greased that a little bit as they head into it. But it's still very grassroots. But I would love to see us provide as much support as we can to make it easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Ben mentioned attending the recent glamping show, and I know that KOA is playing in the glamping market a little bit with the Terramor brand. Is that something that a campground owner should be getting into? I know we talked before, and you said KOA is one of the largest provider of glamping type services in the world because we've got glamping on KOAs. So is glamping just another thing that's going to explode on the side?
Yes. The reason I say we're the largest provider of glamping is because of our deluxe cabin products. When we did glamping research and asked people what they associate as glamping, cabin inventory is actually at the top of that list. So by that definition, KOA is absolutely, I think, one of the largest providers of glamping in North America. But in terms of unique accommodations, whether that be yurts or canvas tents, tree houses, et cetera, I think it's a really smart move for a campground owner to make a move there. And we've got a lot of vendors at our expo tomorrow that are showcasing some of this product. We have a lot of KOAs that are investing in unique accommodations because that's something that's new and appealing to these new campers. So we're, all these new people are coming into camping. They're looking for unique experiences. Also, if you're trying to appeal to maybe a different demographic, someone that stays at hotels, they don't want to stay in a tent. They're not going to buy an RV, or they're maybe more of a hotel or boutique hotel camper. That canvas tent really piques their interest. And that's what our experience has been at Terramor. We've had extremely high occupancy, extremely high demand, no rate resistance, because people are really craving these unique experiences. So we do actively encourage our campgrounds to get involved in this glamping market because I think it's smart business. I think diversifying your offering on your parks is a really good idea to appeal to a wide range of people.
I guess I'm just gonna ask, are you guys gonna do anything more with Terramor? Obviously, you guys have had pretty good success with that park since it opened. Are you gonna build another?
Yep. Yes, we are. We had a really good first full season. Last year we were just open August to October, so it was just really a smidgen of a season. We had a really great first full season, which has really reaffirmed for us that there is a place in the market for Terramor. So we're actively working on some acquisitions of land for new Terramors. So you'll be hearing from us more about that soon, about new locations that we're expanding to.
Along the eastern seaboard, or
we do have a couple spots located in the east. We've also got some western locations that under works. So I think there's room for Terramor in many markets, and so it's just a matter of finding the right piece of land. You know, we've definitely added a level of a high level of our expectations about what we look for. You know, because we want to have minimal noise, a really pristine location. So we're taking our time and finding the right spots to expand the brand, because I think we've done something really well. We won a big award this year on best new brand launch for Terramor. We're very proud of that. It's been definitely, I think, a career highlight of mine to be involved in birthing a brand, and we want to take care of that brand and make sure we're putting them in the right spots. But they're coast to coast. There's great spots for Terramors. We're going to try to find them, and we're definitely going to try to expand the brand.
How has the corporate? Oh, sorry,
Ben. I just got a note from the producer of the KOA convention, who said that we need to wrap it up because he's going to open the doors in a minute, and you guys are going to be engulfed in a sea of yellow. So,
yeah, Toby and I are more important than anybody else, so they can just wait.
Well, the yellow wave is coming in.
We were going to wrap this up here pretty quick. I just wanted to ask real quick about the corporate portfolio. How has that grown, and you know, why is it important to have these corporate parks, and are you looking for more growth in that area down the road?
We absolutely are. We're very bullish on expanding our portfolio while we concurrently expand the franchise portfolio. Obviously, there's a financial benefit to the company when we own parks. That aside, I think we're smarter and stronger franchisors because we own parks. And so we're in the thick of it. You know, we understand firsthand staffing challenges. We understand firsthand training needs, technology issues, because we're using it every day. How we can be more sophisticated in our marketing. All those things make our services and products better for the franchisees. So that definitely is a benefit. But yes, we're looking to continue to expand. We've had a big year. We've added more parks this year than we have in a long time. We've built an acquisitions team. We're very focused on expansion. So you'll see more coming from us, but definitely at the same time, we're growing our franchise system and extremely bullish on that, and have expanded our system development team to do that as well. So trying to grow both ends of our business, and you'll see a lot more coming from us.
Well, Mike is standing behind us now, so we have to really get going. But thanks everyone for watching, and thanks Mike for joining us from Hawaii. And,
thanks Toby. This is the first one I've missed in 2 decades, so this is it's kind of hard to watch out here, but I'll try to survive out here in the ocean.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard, but we do miss you, Mike, and it's definitely not the same without you. But I hope that you'll come when you decide to leave the islands. I hope you'll come to a convention and spend some time with us again.
Maybe next year.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone, and we're going to be taking a break next week for Thanksgiving, and then we'll be right back here live. I'll be back in Michigan. So everyone have a great rest of the week, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks everybody.